were killed when a Hezbollah rocket hit the Druze village of Majd al-Shams. The Israeli government vows to retaliate, but will probably stop short of a full-scale war. The hostage deal is stuck again as Israeli negotiators express frustration at their own prime minister. And Iran's supreme leader formally approved Masoud Pezeshkian as the president ahead of his officially swearing in on Tuesday. A Hezbollah rocket hit a football field yesterday when kids were playing. 12 kids, ages 10 to 16, were killed in the Druze village of Majd al-Shams in the Golan Heights near the Syrian-Lebanese border. I-24 News' Robert Swift reports.
Funerals took place for some of the 12 children killed Saturday evening in the northern Golan Heights town of Majd al-Shams.
Let's bring in Dr. Walid Fares. Thank you very much for joining us. Iran warns Israel against what it called a new adventure in Lebanon, which is pretty much ridiculous given the adventures Iran has been involved with in the region, including Hezbollah. So Iran is also trying to avoid an all-out war?
The regime in Tehran knows very well the basis of the balance of power. They can calculate, as they have done since October 7 and even years before. So they understand that if Israel wants to wage a strategic war, not that exchange, that the French and the Germans had for maybe 8 months, 1940, drôle de guerre or phony war, that's what the regime wants at this point in time, till they find a way to make a strategic advance on, it's like another October 7 or another Israeli withdrawal, or let's say this administration with the remaining months will get Hamas a deal.
At least is fascinating. Majd al-Shams is a former Syrian Druze village. Now they demand an Israeli retaliation in Lebanon. That highlights the unique situation of the Druze minority that is spread over 3 countries which are fighting each other. I-24 News' Sarah Martinez has more.
The Druze are an insular Arabic-speaking ethno-religious minority of about 1 million people. Originating in Egypt in the 11th century, the unique religious sect is an offshoot of Islam, which permits no converts and no intermarriage. The Druze faith is an Abrahamic religion influenced by the Quran and Christianity and even Judaism, but also Greek philosophy and Eastern mysticism. Its main tenets assert the unity of God, reincarnation, and the eternity of the soul. Like a number of other ethnic groups in the Middle East, such as the Kurds, the Druze are spread across the region, residing primarily in Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and Jordan.
Welcome back to Middle East Now. Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, approved Masoud Pezeshkian as president. Now the big question is whether Iran's policies will change. Here's more in the next report.
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, officially endorsed Masoud Pezeshkian as Iran's new president in a ceremony on Sunday, marking the beginning of the Islamic Republic's 9th presidency. Pezeshkian, known as a reformist, was voted in following a snap election after the late Iranian president, Ebrahim Raisi, was killed in a helicopter crash.
Russia is very much present in the Middle East with a very clear strategy emanating from the Ukraine war. I-24 News' Yana Suryadnaya takes a deeper look at the impact on the region.
While Washington is making alliances in Asia and building cross-continental coalitions against the Russian and Chinese threat, there is no clear strategy regarding the third party, Iran, and the policy towards it seems to be weak.
The West lacks diplomatic experience and certainly malicious cunning and shrewdness when it comes to Iran. It's like adults versus kids. They will spin them with deceit, and any agreement that's made with them is destined to be violated. I don't know if I can currently demand this of Israel, who doesn't know what will happen next and what exactly it's doing. I hope there is still a beginning, or at least a dash of understanding that the game has changed drastically.
Let's move to Turkey. Turkish President Erdogan attacked Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, demanding an apology for his refusal to accept an invitation to speak before the Turkish parliament in Ankara. We have journalist Ayla Yaklay with us. Good evening, good to see you again. What's going on, Ayla?
It's an interesting rebuke from Erdogan. He made it yesterday. He was criticizing Turkish political parties who have called on him to invite Mahmoud Abbas to speak before Parliament. And he said, well, we have, he has been invited and we haven't heard back from him and he should apologize.
As the Druze town of Majd al-Shams on the Golan Heights mourns the death of a dozen children killed by a Hezbollah rocket, Israel vows a harsh response. We'll have the latest. Israeli officials resumed talks in Rome to reach a hostage deal as protesters accuse Prime Minister Netanyahu of delaying an agreement. We'll take a closer look. And we'll take an in-depth look at how Russia's war with Ukraine is leading it to a global campaign of destabilization, including here in the Middle East. This is the rundown on I-24 News. I'm Caleb Ben David. The Druze town of Majd al-Shams in Israel's Golan Heights today laid to rest most of the dozen children killed yesterday by a Hezbollah rocket fired from Lebanon that struck a soccer field. 3 more youngsters are wounded and in serious condition. Israeli Air Force jets pounded Hezbollah targets across Lebanon in response to the strike, while Defense Minister Yoav Gallant pledged that a more significant response is forthcoming. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu returned from his visit to the U.S. this afternoon and immediately convened a meeting of the Security Cabinet on the tense situation in the north, while Secretary of State Antony Blinken condemned the attack, but said he does not want to see an escalation of the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah.
Funerals took place for some of the 12 children killed Saturday evening in the northern Golan Heights town of Majd al-Shams.
Majd al-Shams has drawn focus on the Druze community in the Golan Heights, which of course is part of the larger Druze population in Israel and in several countries across the region, most notably in Lebanon and Syria. Our Sarah Martinez takes a closer look at the Druze people who have adapted a system of sometimes conflicting national loyalties in order to survive as a Middle East minority.
The Druze are an insular Arabic-speaking ethno-religious minority of about 1 million people. Originating in Egypt in the 11th century, the unique religious sect is an offshoot of Islam, which permits no converts and no intermarriage. The Druze faith is an Abrahamic religion influenced by the Quran and Christianity and even Judaism, but also Greek philosophy and Eastern mysticism. Its main tenets assert the unity of God, reincarnation, and the eternity of the soul. Like a number of other ethnic groups in the Middle East, such as the Kurds, the Druze are spread across the region, residing primarily in Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and Jordan. The minority group is largely known to have strong national pride to the land they live on. Today, roughly 150,000 Druze live in Israel, residing mainly in the northern regions of the Galilee and the Carmel. Most are fiercely loyal to the State of Israel. In fact, Druze men over 18 have been conscripted to the IDF since 1957 and often rise to positions of high rank, while many build careers in the police and security forces. For more than 4 decades, the Israeli military has a primarily Druze infantry unit called the Cherev, or Sword Battalion. This is in contrast with Israeli Arabs, who are exempt from military service. The bond between Jewish and Druze fighters serving in the IDF is commonly referred to as a covenant of blood. That deep connection further cemented since the October 7th massacre, with Druze soldiers sacrificing themselves to fight alongside their Jewish comrades in arms against a common terror enemy. But not all